Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, so I have been making quite a few pocket knives lately. This is, I guess we could call that a large Skagel pattern. I want to say it's like a 2 3/4, maybe 3-inch blade, something like that. This one I left the pivot pin domed, just because I plan on beating this one up considerably, and I want to see how well it holds without having a collar in there. Just having the domed over pin and leaving the dome. That way I can adjust it later, because I'm invariably going to loosen that up, and because I'm going to beat the crap out of it. Anyways, so I've been working on not just the pocket knives, but also the processes on pocket knives. Pocket knives for me have been one of those things that, I can get them, but I'm painfully slow at them, and, they're not very repeatable. So if I start off a batch of, say, 20 quarter pattern neck knives, right? Well, I can be pretty well assured that, based on past batches, that if I start a batch of 20, that 18 or 19 of them are gonna turn out the way I want to. You're always gonna have some sort of a loss. You come out here early in the morning, you flip the switch on the grinder, you hadn't had enough coffee, and boom, with your own two hands, you put steel into the grinder where you don't want it to, and it takes material off where you don't want it to. And you did it. Things happen, right? But with pocket knives, I start off a batch of 20 of them, and 10 of them might come out, which is a pretty high loss. So anyway, so what we're going to go over now is one of the big things about pocket knives is that they're so dang small, and how to hold on to the parts while you finish them. In the past, I've taken just a regular sheet of sandpaper and held it on a granite tile, and then, well, here, I'll show you. Taken a piece of sandpaper and hand held it on a granite tile while I took the part and, rubbed it back and forth. That kind of works, but this way is so much better, and I don't know why it's taken me this long to get here. First of all, this right here, the whole deal right here, how much can you see? Oh yeah, you can see the whole thing. This right here is amazing in and of itself. So this is a butcher block bench top, right? Which means that there's like 40 2x4s that are sandwiched together, glued and screwed, and then the top sort of planed off flat. Which means that every 1.5 inches I've got, a gap or, a joint. So you just take a couple of big nails and shove them in that joint, and then right here, take yourself a piece of micarta on a screw, and that sunlight's probably really messing with us. There you go. Piece of micarta with a hole drilled in it, and then a screw drilled into the bench. Pull that up, bam, that whole plate comes out. Turn it back down. Now the whole thing, it does not move, right? That is really cool. Second of all, holding the sandpaper flat to the, holding the sandpaper onto your flat surface, right? Now, this is held in place. Now, this piece is worn out, which is why I was going to go ahead and shoot the video. So let's take this old piece and then let's rip it up. Now, first off, that came off pretty dang clean. There's a little bit of residue from the paper right here, and then there's a little bit of glue residue, and I'll show you about that. Throw that piece of paper away. Now we can wipe this down some. Okay. Now we're going to hit it with some WD-40, because I always forget that WD-40 is one heck of a cleaner. An adhesive cleaner. WD-40 will take off adhesive really, really nice and easy. So we're going to wipe this off. We've got a flat chisel right here to get some of these these spots that are a little bit tougher, but there really isn't a whole lot there. Okay, now if you were running a very good spray glue, you know, something that you know, was really had a really strong holding power, honestly, take another paper towel and then come back over and just wipe it off and roll with it. Okay, because that light film of WD-40 is gonna it's gonna weaken that spray glue. Okay, or you can use a fairly weak spray glue, right off the bat. This stuff right here, Loctite spray adhesive, multi-purpose, repositionable, and dries permanent. Okay, this stuff, I want to say I read it in the store. It's a fairly light bond. Okay, so it's a fairly weak glue. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit. We just got regular old carbon choke cleaner here. You could use acetone or mech or, you know, whatever you know, type of solvent that dries without a residue. Okay, so we'll clean that off real nice. Now we've got a new sheet of sandpaper. This is the Rhino Wet Red Line. This stuff works amazing for hand sanding, and so what we're doing is we're hand sanding on the opposite here. So now I'm going to take you over here. Now what you need is a big flat piece of cardboard to throw over your trash can. All right, you take this stuff right here, give it a nice little dusting. Now pick it up and kind of wave it a little bit as we go back to the bench. Now I'm liking to position this to where it's right at the edge of the granite plate. Okay, that way you can sand something, and you can either put it out here and sand it, or you can hold on to part of it and sand it right up here on the end. I probably should. Well, let's see how repositionable it is. Oh yeah, look at there. Yep. Position it on a corner here. There we go. So now we got this nice flat surface. We can sand this flat, and then the edges typically don't get used enough. So then we can come up in here, and when we just want to flatten something out, go right to the corner, and then we can swap it around and then go right to the corner and use both corners. Pretty nice. Actually, do we? Yeah, we still need to lift this up. Now, when this piece of sandpaper gets, when it gets worn out, when that piece of sandpaper gets worn out, the really nice thing about it, there you go. You know, I mean, you saw how easy the cleanup was on that. And this piece of paper has been on, or that old piece of paper has been on here for several days. Typically speaking, you know, your glue, it sets up harder and harder the more you use it, the more pressure goes onto it, the more heat from the friction, all that kind of stuff. So this piece right here, we just put it on. You saw how easy it'd come up and then go right back down. Well, after a week worth of using it, or even a couple hours, depends on how much you use it, how much pressure you put into it, it starts getting an awful lot harder to peel up. And you saw how easy that peeled up. It was really nice. So anyway, some holding techniques. Okay, so no, that piece isn't going to work. I apologize. I should have prepped for this a little bit better. Okay, so let's say that you just want to flatten out this piece, right? Okay, so now since the paper is being held in place by the glue, now you can use both hands on it, and you can, you know, work it back and forth this way, this way, this way, grabbing them this way and putting your fingers down here, using the extra fingers, you know, to just keep a nice even pressure on the entire part as you're sanding. When you're working pocket knife scales, that didn't want to come off of there. You know, you're going to have your holes for your pins, right? Well, instead of trying to grab a hold of this piece, you know, trying to grab a hold of the edges, just slip a couple of pins in there. Now you can use that pin, you know, to move it to. I mean, you're not grabbing a hold of it, but you know, it's a spot where it helps to move it back and forth, and your fingers won't slip right over the top of it, and that works really good. I've seen people use tape. Where you take a piece of tape, you fold it together in the middle, put it down like that, put it on there like that, and that kind of helps you get something to grab a hold of. The other day, Jeremy McCullen from McCullen Knives, he showed taking little bitty bits of sticky back tape, or sticky back sandpaper. This stuff comes from the factory, you know, the sticky back on it. So taking a couple of pieces of that and putting it on there, and that gives your fingers something to grab a hold of, because a lot of times the calluses, you'll just slip right over the top on, you know, smoother materials. Typically I like using the pins. It just seems like it works pretty good, and right now being able to use both hands because the sandpaper isn't going to move is freaking incredible. It's really nice. All right, so yeah, so with this, it's that real kind of a weak all-purpose spray glue, WD-40 to clean off the residue and everything, carbon choke cleaner or whatever you got handy to finish pulling the WD-40 off, and away you go. This way you get to use whatever normal type of sandpaper that you use, like this Rhino Wet. I get it by the 50 pack. I think it's 50 or 100 pack, something like that, off of Amazon. But with this, you can use whatever sandpaper you want. You don't have to, you know, use just the type that's got the sticky back on it. So anyway, so I hope this helps. And again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.